We are only 2 games into the 2024 NFL season, and the Carolina Panthers are already benching their first overall pick from last year's draft, being Bryce Young. And honestly, I don't really know how to feel about this. Because on one hand, Bryce hasn't exactly looked like what the Panthers thought they would be getting with the first overall pick. But at the same time, this organization has set him up to fail from the beginning. I mean, honestly, can any one of us say that the position Bryce Young is in is one where he is set up to succeed or to even develop properly? Because looking at what the Panthers have done for him in the past year and a half, or well, the lack thereof, it's pretty clear that any quarterback, let alone a rookie or second-year quarterback, would struggle to see any type of success. And quite frankly, I don't see how benching him for Andy Dalton is helping him out either. I mean, I guess you could say, oh, hopefully he will be able to regain his confidence while also being able to learn and pick up things as he watches an NFL veteran run the offense, which will hopefully help in his development. But before this, Bryce already looked like a broken man. So how do you think he will feel after getting benched for the Red Rifle? I mean, this coaching staff has no allegiance to him. They weren't the ones that drafted him, so maybe they want to move on from him. Not to mention that last year, there were constant rumors that his head coach didn't even want to draft him and actually wanted CJ Stroud. Oh, and by the way, thank you, David Tepper, for allowing us to get CJ. I will admit, I did think Bryce Young was QB1 at the time, and there is video proof of that, but right now, I couldn't be happier to have him as our quarterback. But anyways, thanks again. So from the very start of his career, there was probably a part of him that felt like his coaches didn't want him. It also didn't help that last year, CJ, who was drafted in the pick right after Bryce, was having a rookie season unlike anything we had ever seen before. And we all know how quarterbacks from the same draft class are always being compared to each other, let alone picks 1 and 2. So hearing and seeing all that, combined with his first year struggles, may have played a part in why he looks so broken already. But like I said earlier, this organization has set him up to fail from the very beginning. I mean, when you really look at it, the Carolina Panthers only made their situation worse when they made the trade to get Bryce Young. Now I know hindsight is 2020, but let's just fast forward to last year where they made the trade up with the Chicago Bears to get the first overall pick. In that trade, the Panthers gave away multiple first and second round picks, but the cherry on top of all that was them adding their franchise receiver DJ Moore into it. So now you're bringing in a rookie quarterback with no talent and a subpar offensive line around him. That's not even mentioning that they had Frank Reich as their head coach, who is just not a good head coach at all. How he got a job after getting fired from the Colts is beyond me. And I don't want to hear the excuse that he just didn't have the talent around him. He was fired for a reason. But anyways, who did he really have to rely on? A head coach that didn't want him and got fired late in the season? A 40-year-old Adam Thielen that is struggling to create any separation much like the other receivers? Or Miles Sanders, a running back that proved just how good the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line was as he ran for a third of what he did in 2022. So overall, what did the Panthers really do to prepare their team for a rookie quarterback? I mean, we've seen it time and time again, where teams want to jump the gun and think bringing in a first-round quarterback will just magically fix all their problems, when that just isn't the case. And honestly speaking, quarterback was one of the last things the Panthers should have been focusing on, as there were many holes across their team that needed to be addressed before that. We're now seeing that the quarterbacks that looked like failures the season before Bryce got there, being Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold, are currently flourishing with their respective teams. So what does that tell you about the situation in Carolina? It's not as simple as if they just drafted CJ Stroud, they would be fine. In fact, it's much deeper than that. I mean, ever since David Tepper has taken ownership of this franchise in 2018, it's been downhill almost every single season. From the hirings to the signings, they seem to be getting worse and worse each season. I'm not even a Panthers fan, and even I could see that. You'd think there would be some type of progression by now, but there just isn't. Not to mention that David Tepper is one of the main reasons why the Panthers drafted Bryce Young over CJ Stroud. Or at least that's what reports say. Much like Tepper, a lot of owners let their egos take over and it ends up affecting the franchise. Plus, we never see these owners take any accountability, and one good head coach or one good season can make everyone forget about that, which I don't think gets talked about enough. So maybe the problems the Panthers currently face start at the top. However, that doesn't mean that Bryce Young is completely without blame for his performances. When watching his tape over the past year or so, there have been many times where he isn't making what should be routine plays. One of my main concerns is his struggle with playing outside of structure or under pressure, which were two things he thrived at when in college. And don't give me the excuse that he played at Bama, so he never really had to deal with that, because his last year in college had to have been one of the worst offensive lines and receiving corps Bama has had in recent memory. He was single-handedly keeping them in games at times, so I know he has it in him. And if he wants to succeed in the NFL, he's going to have to be able to play outside of structure, especially considering his size. Also, Bryce could sometimes be a little too reckless with the ball, which has led to some costly turnovers. In addition to that, I know he is smaller in frame, but he has taken some unnecessary hits and sacks that could have been avoided. I mean, he got sacked 62 times last year, which was second in the NFL. Now, both of those may be due to him overthinking or just lacking the confidence that he once had. That, however, I don't know the answer to. So yeah, there are some things that Bryce is at fault for, and he needs to improve on. And once again, if you don't want to take my word for it, or want to hear a more extensive breakdown, then check out the videos JT O'Sullivan has done on him via the YouTube channel, The QB School. He broke down most, if not all of his games from last year, and will probably do the same this year when and if he returns. Lastly, to wrap things up, I want to talk about something that I feel doesn't get talked about enough with the comparison of CJ Stroud to Bryce Young. And it is something that does concern me with Bryce. Now, I think we could agree that both CJ and Bryce walked into some pretty bad situations last year. In fact, most people last year felt bad for CJ having to join the Texans because apparently that was by far the worst scenario to be in. But looking at it now, you'd think differently because of where the two teams are currently at. Part of the reason that is the case is because CJ makes everyone around him better. I mean, the line that was considered to be one of the worst in the league in 2022 is pretty much the same line that CJ had going into his rookie year, but a lot more injured. Same thing with the receiving corps, which was ranked as the worst by far heading into last season. However, CJ elevated the level of everyone around him, and it made the team and players better. Now, I know it's sounding like I'm glazing CJ again for no reason, but I brought this up to show y'all that's what great quarterbacks and leaders do. They make everyone around them better, and Bryce has to start doing that, which I know he is capable of. So overall, there are areas Bryce Young can improve on, but with everything going on around him, including him getting benched, it's going to be an uphill battle for him. Hopefully, down the road, things don't continue like this for him, because so far, the Bryce Young experiment in Carolina has been a failure. Maybe what he needs is a change of scenery, though I doubt the Carolina Panthers would trade him right now. I mean, I'd sure love to see what a guy like Mike McDaniel could do with him, but who knows? This could be it for him. Let me know what you guys think of Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers down below, and what you think should happen next. I also wanted to thank y'all for the support on my last video on the Houston Texans. It truly does mean a lot. Also, if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more. Trust me, I do really appreciate every single one of y'all. So you may not agree with what I have to say, but in my eyes so far, the Carolina Panthers have failed Bryce Young.